Hi everybody, it's Kim again from Lakeside Crafts by Kim. I got a special order. I thought I'd video this flower. Gonna be using 2 or 3 different petal folds. I'm thinking right now it might be 3, but we'll see how we end up. What you're going to need is your canvas grid. It's plastic canvas. I order mine from Amazon. These are the big squares. It's wreath plastic canvas, and I believe it's 5 squares per inch. Like, so every 5 inches across and 5 inches is 1 inch. The other grid makes my eyes go nutso. Way too small. So we need our canvas grid, and we need it cut into the shape of our center of our wreath. We need a 10-inch wreath frame. We're going to affix the grid onto the center like that. Going to be using 2 rolls of poly burlap mesh in red. We need our cable ties. And our tempered glass cutting board. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is cut the dumpy edge off the poly burlap roll. We're going to get a good seal. I have a metal ruler that I line up on the 6-inch mark on my mat. And I will cut the row immediately following the edge of the ruler. Remember to stay within the vertical lines. And I have a chisel tip on the burner. I don't know why, but this is my favorite tip. There's another one that looks like a claw. That one's pretty decent too, but for cutting the poly burlap, I like the wider tip. It pretty much ensures you get a nice clean edge. So very slowly, gonna run down. And get that junky edge. We're gonna throw it away. And now I have my cutting mat, which my big one is upstairs. This is good for down here. I have the glass cutting board on the 5-inch line on the mat. And this poly burlap is 10 inches wide by 30 yards, or 30 feet long. You can buy this at Mel's Crafty Mojo. You could buy this at Deco Exchange. You can get it at Craft Outlet, Trendy Tree, the Wreath Shop. Any of those places have this brand. It's the Craig Bachman brand, and it's really good material. So we're gonna commence the cutting here over to the 10-inch line. Stay in between the vertical lines. We're gonna cut at the 10-inch. Then we're gonna move down to the 20-inch. You wanna keep it lined up. And you make your cut. staying between the vertical lines. And there you have your first two pieces. So I'm going to be using a 12-inch wreath frame. And there are 6 sections in the 12-inch frame. This is 1, 2, 3. This is a 10-inch frame. I grabbed the wrong one. So there's one more section. So we're going to start on row 3 from the inside. And on the 12-inch frame, I put 3 petals in between and 1 on the rung or the crossbar. And then 3 more and 1 on the crossbar, and follow it around. So you're going to need 18 petals, 18 squares of 10 by 10 for 1 row. So we're going to do 2 rows on the wire frame. 1 row just past the inner ring, and then 1 row inside about 1 inch on the 12-inch frame. So you're going to need 36, 18. You're going to need about 60 petals minimum. So make sure you have 2 rolls, or maybe even 3. I'm not sure. We'll see when we get there. And I'll tell you how many cuts when I finish. So I'm going to continue cutting at the 10-inch and the 20-inch mark until both rows are cut up. Should be able to get about 30 petals per roll. And I have a partial roll that I'm probably going to get into for that 12-inch frame. So now we have 4 petals. I'm going to finish cutting the mesh, and I will be back. Okay, so we're back. I have the 12-inch frame with the grid attached. And I cut 1 roll of poly burlap. I got 35 pieces. So we have 35 petals so far. And I figured out we're going to do 3 rows of 18 petals. So we're going to need 54 petals. But then there's going to be a smaller inside row, which I think is going to be 10 or 12 petals. So we are going to have to probably cut up this whole other roll. But we'll see where we get. I'm going to get rid of this cutting board because we don't need it anymore. So now we have our prepared wreath frame. We've got our cable ties. And this is all we need for right now. Oh, we have our wire cutters. Yes, I have channel locks. I had to have them. I wanted the best wire cutters because I didn't want to be buying them every few months because they get nicks in them. I have had these for 4 years, and they have had a workout, let me tell you. And they're just the blade part. There's not one nick in them. So it's worth the investment. Okay, so first things first. We're going to take our piece of poly burlap. Okay, let's move this. we're going to have the finished edge at the top and the finished edge at the bottom. Now we're going to fold the bottom right corner into the center and the top left corner into the center. And then you're going to pinch these together. Just walk it in until you have this shape. And then you just fold the petal that's in your left hand over the petal that's in your right hand. So we have this kind of 2 points there. Can you see them? Okay, now we're going to pinch it together there. We are going to take one cable tie and feed it underneath. Make sure the flat side is facing up. Feed it underneath the second rung from the outside. Okay? And then you place your petal in there. I usually like to leave like a finger width over so that it's touching the next row of bars. And you just zip it in. Okay? I'm working backwards. I don't know why. I usually start at the end up top. So we're going to take another piece and we're going to do, bring it here so it's closer. Okay. Finished edge, finished edge. Meet in the middle. Walk it in. Pinch it down in the center. Okay, and now fold the left side over the right side. Doesn't have to be completely over it, but you definitely want this part in the middle of the next petal. And I just hold it. Put another cable tie. Zip it in. Okay, so now we're back. I did have to cut into the second roll. I probably used half of it. Probably going to need a few more pieces, but we'll see where we're at. I finished the first 2 outer rows. Now we're on the inside onto the grid. I'm going to do a different fold on here in the center, just because I like the variation of the look of the petals. So I'm going to set this aside so you can see what I'm doing. We're going to take our piece of poly burlap with our top finished edge at the top and bottom. You're going to fold the right hand corner up to the left hand top corner. And so you have a triangle. And then you're going to scrunch up the center and fold it up. So you have like this shape. We'll bring back our wreath. We put our zip tie in. I usually skip 2 squares between entrance and exit. And then I just lay it down and zip it in. Don't pull too tight because it'll rip. The canvas will rip. It is plastic. So we'll do another one. Fold it up in the corner. You have a triangle. Scrunch it up the center. And then just fold that back. And we want to keep in line with our zip ties here. I'm about an inch down from the inside wire. And I'm going to skip a couple spots, squares, and put another zip tie in. And just place the petal down into the cable tie and zip it in. Simple. Let's do one more just to make sure we got it. We're going to skip a couple squares. Okay, so we want this put in at an angle because we're turning a corner here. So you go down one square. All right. Corner to corner. Scrunch it up the center. Fold it up. And then you place it in your cable tie. I like to leave about a ½ inch, maybe a little bit more, sticking out of the other end of the cable tie, so it won't pull out easily. And that's that. I'm going to finish this row. We got half of it to do, so we have 8 more petals to put in. Then we're going to do the very center, and I'll be back. Hi, okay, I'm back. I had a little change of plans with this wreath. I was going to do another inside row of the same type of petal and put a smaller poured center that I make similar to this, but it was going to be red and yellow, but it didn't turn out like I wanted it to. And since the owner of this wreath wanted a yellow center, I have decided to go with this 8-inch foam setter with the yellow wood shavings on it. I think it's going to look more like what she wanted. And I'm just going to affix that in the center there. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to take these U-shaped pins and we're going to attach a pipe cleaner to them. I'm using a tinsel stem. I kind of gravitate towards these when I'm doing attachments, just because I feel like they're more secure than and they're not slippery like the chenille is. And I just wrap it in half, make sure it's evenly placed, and then I twist the pin to get a good tight grip. Now, these pins are like 2 inches long, so you need to make sure when you're putting them in that you're doing it at an angle, because it will poke through the center. These are not that thick. They might be an inch thick. So let's get that going. I'm gonna put a little hot glue on the pin. And we're gonna pinch these together so that when you let go, it'll expand into the foam and less likely to come out. And you see the angle that's going in at? More flat. Okay. You're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. A little bit of glue. Just the very edge, maybe 1/4 of an inch on the pin. Oops. Whoopsie. And just slide it in. So the pin does not protrude through the center. Now we're going to put 2 more pins in to make like an X for security. With the glue. And these are pre-made centers that can be purchased at any wreath supplier. I believe they come as small as 4 inches, and I think they go up to 12 inches. I could be wrong, but I'm guessing that's my best guess as to their size. So now all we have to do is, I think I want to put 1 more in the center, just to make sure. This might be overkill, but you know, want to make sure your products that you're making are secure and they're going to last the customers. I mean, they're not cheap by any means. The materials alone, you know, and then there's your time and effort. So they're straight across in a line. So now what we're going to do is put a little bit more glue where the pins are going in. Protection. Get our glue strings off. Let that set up. I normally would put some felt or some kind of cloth, but I don't have anything readily available right now. No. See, that's good enough where it's not going to run through. So now where you want to place these is where you have space in between where the zip ties are, for the outer ones, And then the center one will go right through the center of the grid. So let's get that. Right through the grid holes there. So it's right in the center. And you're just gonna twist these down. I don't go crazy with the twisting of these because I'm gonna put a backer on this, so it's not gonna show. Just make sure that each end of the pipe cleaner is going through a different hole in the grid. Give it like 3 or 4 twists. And I will cut, leaving about 1 inch. And then I just bend these right into the canvas so they're flat. So if you use foam board or felt or those placemats that some people use, the stuff is not protruding through the back of it. And there you have it. A beautiful red sunflower. I hope you enjoyed watching this. And if you took anything away from this, please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up.